That's when Mike Beck. Did you see all them boxes of weed I used to have in there? No, yeah, in the attic, but in the room right there. Mike Beck brought all that weed over there. And that's how Tony got rich. Your Uncle Tony. Because I was selling that shit. I didn't give a fuck. I give a pound of motherfucking weed. He was selling for $2,000 back then. And I'm getting, as long as I get me an 8-ball or whatever, I didn't give a fuck. That's how much money I was going through. And I gave him that shit, and Tony got rich off that shit. And I didn't turn around. Lynn, going back to Lynn, she got in the inside my book. I'm selling dope to everybody then. Like I said, I'm making so much money then. What? 5,000, 10,000. He didn't give a fuck that them days, you know. But me and Mike Beck, that was my best friend. We were so bad. I go back to Lynn. We were so bad. They used to go down in Greektown. They'll hold the restaurant. Them girls loved us down there in Greektown because we don't give them $100 tip every time we go in there. And they'll hold the restaurant open for us. But anyway, I had $30,000, $40,000, $50,000.
But look,
and
it didn't matter.
And 86, no, let me tell you. And 80, this on tape, right?
Yeah.
And I couldn't make no money because the girls used to come to my house with meat coats on, and they'll open them up, and they butt naked. They said, "What you doing today, John?" I wish I had shit like this on tape.
Hey, so you never told your baby about how you used to own about the music?
What's that? Oh, that nigga, that's the first nigga get me.
But I'm saying
that nigga got me for $14,000 motherfucking dollars. And then I'm paying this shit. And he out there living on 8 Mile where Carolyn used to live.
But I said, what you paying what?
Huh?
What was you investing in?
In the music. I mean, I threw about 3 concerts.
Grand Quarters.
And every time I threw it, the money always disappeared at the motherfucking front door.
Man didn't even know that.
What about Phelps?
Huh?
What about Phelps?
I didn't get Phelps. I had right up here on Gratiot. I bought that motherfucker, and I had 3 groups. I had a nigga named Sterling, and we made videos and everything. Then I had another nigga named Joe. That was a group. I had all them niggas that was doing it, but the nigga Tim Key wasn't no good. That motherfucker, he took my motherfucking money, and his brother, his cousin Eugene, the one that just died, he told me, he came to me and said, "You know what, John? Don't you know that
Eugene Washington died?
Eugene Washington, he died. He had a heart transplant. Motherfucker got me. I got music. I got a 24-track tape right now, and that nigga keep telling me he don't have it. And then one day I was in my motherfucking silk shoes and some gaiters. And I come out of the church. Matter of fact, the blue suit I got on, snakeskin suit I had. And I caught that nigga in my one, I slapped him like that. Bow! That nigga fell on the floor and I jumped on him with my motherfucking silk suit and snake shoes. And I'm beating this nigga. And Johnny, his uncle, his cousin, came down and pulled me off. Mr. Washington sitting there in the window, just wanted to beat this motherfucker's ass.
Because he took your money?
For over 14,000 or more, man. Huh? No, because back then, that's what I had Mike Beck, my white boy. And we got into the weed.
That great white hope, always take y'all down.
No, that's my boy. That nigga took me up. I made 100,000. I had 100,000, brother. And I lost it in 1 year. I 100,000 in 1986. And there wasn't no more weed around. That's when Mike Beckett come. We gonna grow weed in my attic on Coral Street. And when I did that, my other partner came named Larry. Cause him and this other nigga on Harmon, Little Harris, and they the one made 100,000. I had an old man giving me just weed off the farm. He had to go on the farm, just giving them weed for 200. He'd give it to me for 300. And I take that weed and I split that motherfucker. And we was selling, man, so many pounds. So Tony, my brother Tony, took me down in Mexican town. And you can't get in Mexican town. One time I went down Mexican town and down there by myself. Them niggas followed me until I got left motherfucking Mexican town. You don't fuck around Mexican town back then. Okay, but so Tony used to take me down there. I used to get $3,000 at a time. 3,000, 30,000 worth of weed. My whole front living room, that's when y'all was little bitty motherfuckers. And that whole thing in there. And I used to get 30,000 every time. So I sat on my mama's bed one time and I said, Mama, I don't know what this shit is. She said, what you talking about, baby? I said, this shit they got out of here, I can't stop it, Mama, I can't stop it. You know what my mama said? She said, give it to God, baby.
You
Give it to
stop
God.
what? What you sold?
Crack.
So when did you start smoking? How did crack pop in?
86, I just told you, 86 wasn't no weed. So Larry came, one of my runners. I had 2 runners. I had Lil Harris, Ron Harris. They found him in the trunk dead. He the one left there with my motherfucking King Tut head, the big one. And I said, well, you can't take the King Tut head unless you get a 2-shot Dellinger. And that nigga took the 2-shot Dellinger and he went and he took 10 pounds of weed and 2 ounces of cocaine. And this nigga that he left for dead, they supposed to left for dead, this nigga was in the house, in the bedroom, and they set him up. And I said, why the hell they had my motherfucker? I ain't sitting there. He had my chain. They took my chain, they beat the nigga down, put a garbage bag over his face, and parked him over on Linwood and 12th Street. And that's where they found him. He had a Cadillac. And they found him in his trunk. And Larry, he was so scared because they thought Larry set him up. And Larry was at the funeral. And matter of fact, that was right there with, what's his name, Johnny Lynn's baby. And they used to laugh at me, you know, because back then I had all the money. I was making all the motherfucking money. You see what I'm saying? But when I was on that crack, niggas was laughing at me like a motherfucker. But you think I gave a fuck? You know I didn't give a fuck, did I? Can I get $10? I didn't give a fuck. But at least I went through something that y'all didn't have to go through. Y'all ain't had to touch that shit.
Well,
see what I'm...
what was the introduction to crack? Was it did a lady bring that?
No. See, back in the day, we used to snort cocaine. And that's the reason why my partners, I can't go by their house today.
So I mean, what brought that? Who brought that to the table? I'm talking. What brought
Larry. See, when Larry in 86,
when they ran out the weed, Larry brought the dope in.
He brought the dope in 86.
And they wanted to taste it.
And that's when I started.
They wanted to taste something.
And then,
man, the reindeer is floating past me now. They wanted to go back to that.
Yeah, because Larry brought me 2 ounces. He brought me 2 ounces when I first in 86. So that's when I was going to take.
So what you do, snort it first?
No. That's when I was going to go to Toronto. I was going to Toronto and I was going to send for you and Jermaine.
Yeah.
And I was going to send for y'all. I had $5,000 in my pocket, something like that. And I'm going over there and I'm going to go trick with the girls in Toronto. Then I'm going to send for my sons to come over there over the thing. And that nigga brought that motherfucking crack up there. And we normally snort something, you know, like that. And then nigga brought in and cooked that shit up, man. I didn't leave that house for 2 weeks. The 2 weeks I was going to spend in Toronto, that's 2 weeks I spent smoking up all this motherfucking dope. And we smoked that motherfucking shit up, man. And my daily minimum was an 8-ball a day. I sit there and I smoke, and them girls will come through, they'll come through, and that would turn me out. They took that motherfucking 100,000 that I had, and it disappeared within a year. And 89, I think, no, it was 89 when I met Donna in college. So we was at my brother's house, Alan's house, and we was at a party. James said, hey man, they hiring at Lynch Road. I said, man, come on, I'll go up there with you, I'll take you up there. And they took him up there. He got a job working. There you go. He was that thing. Look at smoking. I call him smoking. No, that boy.
Like Sawyer.
And he talked.
Right now.
No, that nigga.
his toy.
Ain't nobody black as that motherfucker Smokey was back in the day. I just call him Smokey.
That's why they call him Smokey.
I call him Smokey. Yeah, cause that nigga was black. That motherfucker. Ain't nobody was black as that man. And his head, look, his head was this wide. Look, this wide. That's it. And that motherfucker. But back then, I was like Boomer. I always had a crew with me. So I pulled up in front of Wendy's house one time. And I was blowing the horn. And I'm saying, what the fuck? When he waiting on, when the fuck is she at? I went up to the door. Smokey said, come in. Said, look here. Don't you ever come and blow a horn at my motherfucking door. He wouldn't let Wendy out the door. Because I was blowing the horn, I had to put Fleetwood. And then the car full of niggas, okay? And that's where I was. I'm JB. Yeah. And I'm selling weed. Everybody knew me. I was about bad as Boomer was in his state. Cause he got a crew. I was 20 years old. Mom was 16. She 40 years.
So cute. You 16 on there?
She was 16. And you know what? Wait. Let me tell y'all that story. And all she wanted to do.
Like you just getting married.
Yeah. Look. And all she wanted to do was go to the spinner and smoke her daddy. He ain't going nowhere. Wendy ran away. And I didn't know how stupid I was. We didn't have no sex then. But Wendy ran away, riding in the Fleetwood. And this girl used to be a hoe. Jumped in front of my car, took down my license plate number. And finally gave Smokey that was Wendy's daddy. My license plate number stuff. And Smokey said, look at here. He talking like that. Look at here. What you gonna do with my dog? What you gonna do with my dog? And you know, and I'm sitting there with that motherfucking box. That's what I had, Boxolini, you know, and that motherfucking Cadillac. And I say, I'm gonna take her to see the spinning. And he said, well, look here. And he told me off to the side, you gonna marry my daughter, you going to jail. Cause she was 16. And we ain't having sex, but they was sitting in jail back then. And Wendy, and we went to see the spinners at UD. And watch this. Bad she wanted to see the spinner. Felipe Wynn walked up on us just like this. And we had on pinstripe suits. You probably got that picture in there too. Pinstripe suit. Huh? No, that's the blue suit. But she had something like that. Pinstripe. There you go, that. Something like that. Right there. And Felipe Wynn said, damn, y'all sharp. Felipe Wynn said this, and that's all she wanted to see spin. Damn, y'all sharp. And I wasn't thinking we should have got a picture. Because that's all she wanted to do. That's the reason why Wendy ran the fucking
You
away.
was too cool. You ain't
No, too cool, yeah. Because you and Jermaine had a head motherfucking full of hair until they granddaddy took him down. We took Boomer couldn't spell, but I read his letter. You see it right there.